All right, guys, we are continuing our work with closed guard. We are moving from the bottom position to the top position. Today, we're going to talk about a submission from the top closed guard. Pretty traditional choke you might see in street fights or other things that a lot of people don't give much respect to, but is a pretty nasty choke if you know how to do it correctly. So I'm going to be inside Mark's closed guard. Now, generally speaking, we're going to cover posture later this week. I'm always here when I'm in the closed guard, at least starting out. I want to be in a position where if I want to hit Mark, I can hit him, but he can't hit me, right? Boom, I can land big punches on him. I can lean in and throw elbows. If I allow Mark to control my posture, that's a totally different situation. He can start bringing me in, hitting him, doing those things. If I end up getting pulled into Mark's guard, I'm usually on his biceps, or at least have myself in a position where I can block him from being able to hit me. So what I mean by that is I'll usually be something like this, right? It's difficult for him to get much damage there with his fist. Short elbows, though, are super nasty. One of the worst concussions I've ever gotten is from short elbows being inside someone's closed guard. So I'm going to be monitoring him there. Let's talk about the hand positioning. We're going to go double hands on Mark's neck. Now, the reason I think people fail a lot of times at this choke is they're not doing anything to anchor themselves to their opponent. So I'm not concerned about Mark's trachea. Depending on my hand size and placement, and depending on the size of Mark's neck, there's definitely a situation where I could end up with some force on his trachea. That's definitely not what I'm doing. There are tournaments that don't allow this choke. I can't say that I fully understand why, but there are some. So I'm doing a couple things rather than just squeezing with my hands. I am squeezing, but I'm doing a couple really specific and intentional things. So I'm going to overlap here. I like to be below the trachea on the neck. I want to be right down in here, right where Mark's neck meets his shoulder, coming down. My other hand will overlap. And then with my 4 fingers, I'm actually grabbing onto Mark's lats. That's one of the things that's really going to prevent Mark from easily being able to defend this. So as I grab here, I'm coming in and I'm squeezing. So if Mark grabs my wrists here and tries to pull them out, it's going to be extremely difficult for him to be able to just yank them. If he's able to make contacts before I do, then yeah, that's a little bit of a different story. Then from there, I'm physically going to push them together, but none of that is what's choking him. So we overlap, I'm squeezing in, and I'm pushing together. He's not really choking here. He will eventually, but he'd be able to stop that. I'm going to use my weight distribution to choke him. Those grips for me are so that Mark is unable to easily defend this technique. What I'm then going to do is one of two things. I'm either going to lift my knees up, or rather my butt from my heels. I'm going to lean forward and get some weight distribution. I'm going to put all my weight into my hands in a downward motion while we're squeezing here with 4 fingers, and I'm forcing myself in. So we come here and here. Now from here, I'm going to raise up. I'm able to get a tap pretty quickly there. The other thing I will do, and that I'm more likely to do because I'm trying to initiate passing too, is I will hop from my knees to being on my feet so that I have the balls of my feet driving. I'm up at a 45-degree or so angle, driving in. I can get more weight distribution there. So if I do that, I'm going to loosen the grip so he's got a second. So how do I do this and then also prevent Mark from pushing me away? I've got to collapse Mark's hips inside. If Mark is stiff here, if I don't have the opportunity to beat his hips in, he's going to be able to keep some distance here. Just stay stiff here. Push me away here. Okay. This becomes more difficult. It's harder for me to get weight distribution. I'm still able to get some because I'm enough taller than Mark that he would probably have to react more there than if I did it to Brandon or Pat over here. So when I come in here, I want to make sure that I beat his hips in. If you've ever felt someone do like a San Paulo pass, or the pass where I'm going and I put my arm over your head and I fold your hips in, if you're able to straighten your hips out before that happens, it's more difficult for the person to initiate it. But once they collapse your hips, it's extremely difficult to get it back. So even if I'm just coming up here, he's got it pretty decent. Let me go all the way up this time. Now try to push me away. It's very difficult for him to create force inside of there. Now, I'm not gonna go on his neck. I'm just gonna stand up and collapse his hips. If I'm here like this, and I've already collapsed his hips, it's very hard for him to leg press me off here, right? He's not gonna be able to get very far. But as I'm jumping up, if he beats me there, go ahead and extend. This is gonna become a lot harder. Again, I'm gonna have some leverage because of the length I have on Mark. So I wanna be able to fold somebody's hips. So when we're in here, I'm already walking my knees in, trying to bring his knees as close to his chest as I can. I'm monitoring his arms. I grab, come up, and we're in. Does anyone have any questions on this? It's a pretty straightforward, super simple technique that you've all seen a million times in movies and other things to make sure we're squeezing the lats in and collapsing the arms in, and also trying to fold those hips from either position. Everybody's good? Let's run it. All right, guys, so there's two more things I want to cover on this technique. The first one is, what happens if Mark is able to get one of my hands off? If Mark gets one of my hands off, I will transfer to one hand being down, and I'll begin to pass. So if I'm here, I come up, let's say Mark is able to pull this hand off. I'm gonna keep his hand there. I'm gonna transfer my weight here and begin to walk around. If he opens his guard, great, I'll start passing. If he keeps his guard closed and I'm able to transfer weight in here, he's gonna end up having to tap. I'm squeezing in order to crush both carotid arteries there. I'm dropping my elbow down. I wanna be careful that I don't get arm locked. So we're here, I come in with two hands, he's able to strip one. My knee comes to the center of his butt, my other leg comes up, I start turning the corner. This elbow's down a little bit, my thumb's squeezing in, and weight transfers in. I can also start opening the guard at the same time. Go with whichever one I like. If I straighten this arm too much though and start coming here, boom, I'm gonna get arm locked fast, right? So I wanna be really cognizant of that. So we're here, Mark strips an arm, I'm here. Part of me having this here is to prevent him if he tries to swing that other arm around, or other leg around. Sorry, I'm leaning in, preventing that, and then putting weight in. As I put weight in, I'm flexing my wrist down in order to get a choke. The next thing I want to talk about is the arm lock we covered last week is here for the guy on the bottom. We have to take steps and measures in order to be aware of when it isn't and isn't available and how to defend it. If I just come here, start coming up, Mark can arm lock me. Tap. That's nasty for me, right? But if I stack his hips, get some bend in my elbows, arm lock me. It's gonna be super difficult, right? My arms start coming in, boom, I'm handing it to him, tap. So I wanna flare my elbows a little bit and almost, if you have the height to do it, get your knees and your elbows as close as you can. I'm gonna do it again without putting pressure on Mark. I'm just gonna come out here. Try to arm lock me. Very difficult, right? If I come in like this though, tap, he's gonna break both of my arms. So two different kind of techniques. And what we're doing, one on the bottom, be super aware. If someone grabs you with both hands, I'm instantly going for that before they can stack my hips or do anything. So let's be careful in how we're setting it up. So drill both sides of it. And then two, if they're able to strip one arm, switch to just going with a single arm. And you can always go back to, I like to isolate that other arm on the outside. Any questions? Yeah, I'm just trying to squeeze that carotid. I don't need a lot of pressure. I'm just squeezing in, and then I'm flexing this wrist down with weight and just getting both these carotid arteries. You only need a couple pounds of pressure to stop it. And if I have one of his arms out of play, it's gonna be super difficult for that single arm. All I'm doing is squeezing. I'm not putting any weight down right now, right? Try to pull that arm off. Super difficult for him to do that because I'm driving it in. Make sense to you guys? All right, let's run it.